Yes.
I want to call our budget work session to meeting. Appreciate everyone coming out, being with us tonight. We have a couple of departments that we did not get to in our Monday meeting. I want to start with those. Certainly, we have Mr. Grinton here from engineering. John, I'll turn it over to you at this time, and you can introduce the departments as you will.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have two more large departments, engineering and utilities, and parks, recreation, and tourism, that are here to answer any questions you have. Then if you have any other questions on the entirety of the budget, we're ready to respond. I also wanted to spend a little time tonight talking about the hospitality tax and the economic reinvestment fund, if we have the time to do that. So this is more questions than commentary. So George, are you ready for questions?
I am.
Okay.
And yours?
It's on page 84. One of the major changes, obviously, that is being proposed is a reintroduction of the concept of having a DPW superintendent or manager. And all of you probably know or read about the fact that we always had a consolidated public works department. And a while back, there was a management decision made under the category of cost savings, rather than add additional staff, which was the request of the then DPW Public Works manager. There was a decentralization of functions. And I've talked to you about this in the past, so I won't go over it again, but especially if we are moving towards a significant increase in the number and complexity of projects. I'm firmly of the belief that we need a DPW superintendent, and that there can be much greater collaboration, and this isn't a criticism at all, but there can be greater collaboration amongst our various departments, and I think that can be achieved by a consolidated public works department. It is certainly not unusual for a community this size to have a consolidated public works department. There's a reason for it, and I have included that in this budget.
I think we separated it more as a budget issue than a functional issue.
Yes.
But when you use the word superintendent, that kind of confuses me. Is that?
That's interchangeable to manager, superintendent.
Director?
Director.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be a person that would oversee George and his department and oversee Rick and his department.
Tim,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Tim,
Okay.
yes, that's correct. Which is the organizational structure that we had
Okay.
for many, many years in this community.
And do we see that here in this budget?
You don't see the organizational change. You have the funding for it.
Okay.
Because we want to have the organizational change take place over the next year.
Okay.
And so I don't want to hit the light bulb, and, I mean, we're certainly not ready to have a public works manager, director, whatever we're calling it, on board 1 July. And there needs to be much more collaboration and discussion between George and Tim. They have every right to apply for the
Sure.
position, but whatever we ultimately do, it's going to take a period of
But
time.
if you're planning on that happening during the budget year, is the money for it in the budget?
It is.
Okay.
It is not assumed that the person would start anywhere close to July 1st.
Sure. Okay. And going back to planning director, money for the planning director would be in this budget?
It is in that budget. That, as you know, has been a very frustrating process, but I'm convinced that we need to take the time to hire the right person.
Oh, absolutely.
And we have run into the same challenge that other South Carolina communities have, because I've had many conversations with brother and sister managers, that there isn't a large field out there to draw from. And so I'm going to be meeting with some people over the 2-day period that I'm at the South Carolina Managers Association to talk about that as well. So
Okay.
You almost
I'm
have
mindful
to,
that we got to get someone on board. But
you almost have to recruit them from, it's like getting a pitcher from another baseball team
Yes,
for the home stretch.
yes. That is true.
What, I understand George's department, I understand Tim's department. Is there anything else that would be under the purview of the DPW that's not right now under either engineering or in Tim's group?
I mean, we certainly could, and that's the type of additional analysis.
I mean, I don't have a
that needs to be
suggestion, I'm
done.
just wondering.
Yeah. I mean, there are different models that
And how about planning I know this isn't really George's part, but how about planning and then the code enforcement?
Well, you have that, and you also have GIS.
Right.
I mean, there are different models where GIS is under planning, and so, and we have it under George's operation, and so we need to look at that to see if
So that's a task for down the road to
That's
think
right.
about, okay.
Have you dealt with the GIS before?
oh, yeah. I've done it both ways. I've had GIS under Public Works, and I've had GIS in planning.
Okay.
Do we need GIS in-house with the sophisticated, the level of sophistication that the county has?
Well, I mean, I think that's a very legitimate question, and
I mean, they're very good at what they're doing over there.
yeah. I do know that we obviously access that information on a daily basis. We want to make sure that it's available, but that certainly would not be off the table.
We're also using GIS as our basis for our infrastructure software, statistical modeling software, so we're making good use of it.
Yeah.
And we want, very specifically to have our engineering drawings,
Well, they-
accurate and
They
modeled
both
correctly.
work on the exact same platform, ours and theirs.
Yep.
And you can have, I'm already getting above my learning, but my understanding is that you can have sort of gateways so that internally you'd have access to some data. Even if you join, if you piggybacked off each other, you'd have access to some data and some things that for just the engineering department, it'd be a gateway or whatever you call it to keep, the everyday person from getting in there. So I think there's ways that can be managed, and they're good at it, and that just seemed like a potential area of savings, because that's a ever-progressing, kind of expensive thing. Not only do you need smart and talented people to do it, but they've got to constantly be doing continuing ed and updates and improving the.
Yeah, the key will be how responsive they would be to the things that we have to do, like when Public Safety was doing their latest rollout of this program.
Mhm.
We spent a lot of time working with them and servicing them. You just got to make sure that you have the service agreement for the right price.
Yeah, no question
Because
about it.
these things, come up.
Yeah, no question about it.
It'd be a
We
great-
do know that they have a really good GIS department and a really good person running it. So
It'd be a great conversation to have.
Yes.
Not duplicate
Right.
service.
A lot of times in community, you'll see the planning function and the development function in the same operation as well. You're planning and development.
Mhm.
So that's something that could be considered as well.
Well, I think amongst from a user friendliness standpoint, for homeowners, business owners, developers, whatever, I think they'd like to see that kind of more of a one-stop shop
Yes.
thing. And obviously one building shop thing rather than back and forth. But I do think that from a customer service standpoint, they do like to see that join. Although, we've got a right now leaderless planning department, but we've got a history of pretty professional planning department and an excellent inspections and code enforcement group and stuff. So it's been well run. But if there's ways to save money, you want to look at that.
George, you purchased the software, in theory, in practice, I mean, to put the leaks in, the leak data in, both water, sewer, I guess probably stormwater. How long do you think it'll be before you'll have an advantage and it will allow you to be proactive in that program as opposed to just showing up for work and finding where the leaks are and dispatching there?
We will have, by the end of this month, we have our sewer and our stormwater, our water up to date as far as what we have available information. We will rerun the statistical analysis to help prioritize the areas where we need to, look at, taking care of pipes. The issue will become, once you know where you want to target, where will you fund the money to rehabilitate the different structures. Sanitary sewer is its own, problem and unique issues. Water is its own problem and unique issues. Attacking water problems, there are really two fronts that I see. One is we need to do a overall system model, hydraulic model, because we have high pressure zones and we have low pressure zones. We have some hammering that we're trying to address. We have some areas, it's somewhat ironic. The oldest pipe in our network is 105 years old, and I think it's probably some of the better pipe, because we've got some 50-year-old or 30-year-old pipe that's thin wall PVC, and it's just breaking on us unexpectedly. So the hydraulic model will indicate where we have high pressure and potentially hammering problems. You can tie into the GIS information that we have, different analysis software that will help us predict and project where we should be putting our efforts. So that's where we can start, basically the beginning of next year when we have all this information in. The challenge becomes having either the consulting to come in, people who've done this before, or hire somebody that you can train, internally that can do these analysis and then start, working the project. So my plan is to, spend a lot of time first part of next year trying to get the idea of what projects we need, so that when we have our capital sales tax 4 opportunity, we can say we need to do this, 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 and this. And then, and then once those fundings come in, that's when you truly become proactive.
How many water teams do you have, and are we staying on top of what the problems are?
We are. We have I meet weekly, every Wednesday with everyone, and we have it's a very simplified process chart. We have, we track the leaks in the sewer and then the yards and the roads that the sewer leaks, create. And we have a green, yellow, red zone. We have we can get to about 20 or so per week. So we have a green zone of 25. So if it's under 25, back order, it's in the green zone. If it goes above that, goes to yellow. Then I expect the people to start working overtime. When it's in the red zone, it becomes mandatory overtime. We start really focusing on what needs to be done. So we are looking at it every week, and they know exactly what they're doing. We're tracking how many repairs each crew is doing. We have a total of 6. One is dedicated to sewer. There are the other 5 primarily are doing water, with one of them being special projects. So they may end up doing some particularly deep sewer projects or particularly deep water projects, kind of because they.
How many are on each water team?
Generally 3. We had. We actually were starting to use inmates, and so to kind of, and that would provide like an extra labor set to
Sure.
kind of spell off the crews, because this is pretty hard physical labor. So it switches between 3 and 4, and we'll continue to do that with some temps.
Has your turnover been acceptable in your eyes?
It has slowed down this past year. We had some turnover in the first couple of years, but I think it was actually good turnover.
Okay.
And so now we're settling down, and we aren't seeing as much turnover. We did lose a couple of key people, one particularly in concrete. Had another opportunity. He was an exceptionally good employee, and we'd welcome him back if he ever wanted to, but we don't have a lot of, it's slowing down.
Is this one of these items where we look at the wages on a regular basis at the municipal association? Are you happy with the wages? I mean, obviously, everybody wants more, but is it?
These are, manual labor positions. They're going to be the lowest, wages around. But even in a low-wage environment, you need good people. And to attract good people, if you are doing competitively, strong wages for what you're doing, you're going to get better people than North Augusta gets, and the county gets, and that sort of thing. We have a program where a maintenance worker 1 can, if he takes on and learns some additional jobs, he can go up to a 2 and up to a 3, so that would be the maximum. So there is room to kind of advance a good employee a little further, and we take advantage of that. That hasn't always been done in the past, but that's been my policy, and I provide for it in my budget so that I can reward somebody. Once they get up to 3, though, that's when you start finding people, you know, good people, they've advanced, there's not likely a lot of other places they can go, then they maybe start looking around.
I mean, I bring that up, and generally, we should be very aware of turnover.
Sure.
I mean, the worst department for turnover is public safety, because it takes 50 weeks
Yeah.
to fully replace the person, so, and I think, hopefully, we didn't get into it yesterday, but hopefully we've done the job with the wage adjustments that we've made in public safety, but we need to make sure that if they need to be made in other departments, because the workload's gonna get tougher before it gets easier.
There was a little
we
bit
can't
of
afford
grumbling
turnover.
from our departments and other departments when they saw all the attention being given to public safety and not as much or any to them. I mean, I won't,
I understand.
you know, it's just, there's a little bit of uncomfort
Yeah,
there,
I understand.
discomfort.
But the public safety had to be made because they were so out of cycle, I think.
If I could, I wanted to look at some numbers.
Sure. What page are you on?
Well, I'm on page 91.
Yeah.
But there's other pages there. And this is, I think, where I've concluded this is where you really see this and the subsequent pages where you really see the effects of the recommended new fees that would factor into this year's budget. But there's some things, for instance, under expenditures, the 2016 budget was at 12.5 million, and then for the manager approved for 2017 it was 11.8 million. So that's about a $750,000 decrease in water and sewer utility expenditures. How do we come up with? How do we think we're going to save $750,000 there? I mean, that's great. Let's save it, but is that just a maneuver of
If you're
money?
looking by fund, then we really need to go back to page 57,
Okay.
because this is all engineering and utilities. So basically, everything under George's purview, but that is not all water and sewer. So that's one of the things we're gonna have to get used to in this new slicing and dicing. So if you wanna look at fund,
Okay, I'm doing that.
do you see the water and sewer, so the total revenues and then total expenses? So in 16's budget, it was 17.5, and this year it's 17, not quite 2.
Two. Yeah. So it's still a $375,000 reduction in projected revenues. Is there a reason that?
Well, part of the change in the revenues is in the depreciation fund transfers in for the equipment replacement and things like that. So if you look at the charges for service, it's 14.9 to 15, and that incorporates the rate increases. But the other is 2.6 to 2.1.
That's where your depreciation comes in?
And that's
a
how
big
deceptive it
part
is.
of
It's a
that.
wonderful program that many communities don't have, that we have depreciation funds, that we have depreciation accounts, but it makes it confusing. You just you see wide variations of
Yeah.
expenditures, and it might be because you need a $300,000 truck next year,
Right.
whereas the last year you didn't have it, so
Right.
it looks like a big increase.
Yeah, we've always done that, and you know, I don't know, with this new budget, I don't think there's anywhere that really shows the broken out depreciation set of numbers, is there?
The
Or way in the
detail
back?
would be in the back, and that was a thought I had. Like I said, this is evolving.
Right.
I did have that thought to put an appendix that would show the detail, instead of the capital improvements that were requested, which is important, and that's what, went to the planning commission, but to show what was actually approved as part of this budget and funded with depreciation funds. Would that be helpful to include?
I think it would be.
Yeah, I mean, just to see, Because that would show the balances and the depreciation accounts too, wouldn't it? Or just the annual allocation
Well,
towards it?
My vision was to have the equipment that was approved in the budget that has been funded with depreciation.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we add that other, I mean, just,
Yeah.
I mean, I can put anything in here.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, this is evolving.
Sure.
But I'll work
We
on
had some things that
appendix.
got
It
in
would
and
be
some things
somewhat
that
of a-
did not.
It'd
Yeah.
be somewhat of a snapshot, Kim, so it would all
Yeah,
be.
I think it'd be useful throughout the year as you're buying stuff more than it might be at the budget approval point, but yeah. Well, the other thing that jumped out at me, and I was still looking on that page 91, so I wasn't looking on the page that Kim wants me to look at.
Oh, no, I want to look at all of it.
Was, let me find it. Transportation Public Safety Improvement Fund, which was down second line from the bottom. Is that from some of the new fee revenues? Is that what that is?
Yes.
Yes,
So that's,
exactly.
okay. And that's a combination of both sets of fees that,
Well,
No.
that's
the,
just a
the,
different number than I was,
the $400,000 amount is the portion of the program that deals with new roads.
okay.
That was what was being recommended to come from the hospitality tax. We're gonna talk about this as soon as we're done with the other two budgets.
I just, the 1.13, I was thinking with the vehicle registration proposed fee and
Yeah.
then the franchise increase, that combined would be
Right.
about 1.5.
Well, the next line, the road maintenance
Maintenance.
fund, is the $20 fee.
And we're only collecting that for
See, we're
half
only-
a year.
Oh,
for
okay,
half a year.
there's where the number,
Yeah,
that's where the
because-
dollars are.
Right, because there's just no possible way to.
The
do that.
revenue.
Yeah, because you're not starting until
revenue-
January.
That's
Right.
correct. They run on a
Okay.
calendar
Yeah,
year for
yeah,
collections,
I'm
not
with you now.
a
I just-
fiscal year.
I was missing $250,000, so.
The franchise fee is the 1.13,
Okay,
because they would be in separate funds, because they would have separate
stream.
designations, separate streams.
Okay. All right, well, that's what I was trying to just make the math work, and if it wasn't all there, I was gonna try to, my next question would be, where's the rest of the dollars? But it's because it's half a year on the registration thing. Okay. All right, those were the two questions that I had right now. on that.
George, we've talked, obviously had presentations talking about the need for our road maintenance program. Personnel-wise, would it be, I know obviously we're not gonna be doing the coding and all, but as far as the evaluation and all, would we look for someone else to come in and do that?
Well, I think the challenge is the same for roads as it is the other infrastructure. You have to do an initial assessment with other infrastructure. We've got drawings, and so we've been hiring a consultant, to put it in, and that's the equivalent. Then we'll do some analysis. This one, we will need somebody to literally go out and drive through all the roads and rate them according to the national standards. That would be something that we could hire a consultant to do. Once all of these programs are established and you are running through it, then it would be a portion of our trained, engineering technicians' responsibility. I think when we get to that point, we understand, we'll sit down and we'll figure out what percent of a person's, average, weekly, time should be spent, driving the roads to see how they have changed, or updating the spreadsheet or the data management system. I could envision that being, a quarter of a person. So then you start looking to see, is there somebody that, that we can either, rearrange job duties, and, consolidate. And so I would look for that first, but ultimately, it has to be the right amount of hours being put into it every year to make sure it happens. And I really can't say how much it is, so I wouldn't be asking for somebody.
Sure.
But during the process that we're going through and evaluating, I think we could probably get a pretty good idea, using the consultant.
Well, I think using a third party for that assessment stuff, and just, making recommendations and whatnot is a good idea. Having a sort of a unbiased set of eyes
Right.
out there doing that is smart, and I think it would be what the public would expect too.
And we would also have the person we had in mind to take over the program, working with the consultant, obviously, to
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
train on the job, so to speak.
Sure, no sense, yeah, that makes sense.
You see any water or sewer fund increases this year in the budget?
Not at this time, if we continue at the given rates. We are doing a better job of repairing roads, and that expense is increasing. So that's the only place that I kind of worry about where my spending is, because, you know, I don't want to shortchange the repair of the roads, and it's just expensive, so we'll see that in.
The road repair after you fix a leak?
Right.
Yeah. You have enough money for the driveway repair?
Well, it's the same fund,
Same
so
fund?
it's- I worry them together.
Yeah, okay.
Is that, which fund, is that shown in the detail in the back where that's paid for?
I'm not sure. You have the individual codes, right?
Mad, have the individual codes, is that what you said?
Well, it's, yeah, it's, let me get to the right.
It would be under water and sewer, I mean, what do we call it now? Water distribution, right?
Yeah, it would be,
That's where the repairs of leaks are in water distribution?
yes,
And I think it's gonna be, it's asphalt.
page, yeah, it's
Yeah.
actual, 196.
196?
Well, usually probably number different, because you've got one.
You're on the
Yeah,
old
the
one.
numbers you've been calling out, Kim, are different than what,
Oh, I'm probably one off.
It is asphalt, concrete,
It's in there.
have all been put together, and it's a fairly hefty
Supplies.
sum. Yeah, what, not really. Road material and supplies, there's a little bit there.
Yep.
There's a little bit under
I'm sorry, I'm still not sure what page.
I'm not with you.
194.
We were on
194.
198.
So that's Wells,
You said
195.
Well, you got two
Oh,
different
you
things.
jumped over to
Road
195.
maintenance and supplies are 198.
Road
195.
materials and supplies on 194. So the number on that, year-to-date actual is $68,000
Yes.
versus the $70,000 budget. And then, so
Boy,
you're
that
gonna be
doesn't
coming in
seem
right
like
on
a heck of a
mark, it
money.
looks like. And then the other part of it was what?
But next year's is 60,000.
I see that. But there's other proposed funding for road work for next year, right? But what you, okay, so you said there was something on page 194 and something on page 195?
Are you counting under water distribution and treatment?
Under, I don't know, under general supplies, that would be there.
There was another supplies on page 198, John said.
190.
Well, I mean, I'm
At
just
the
getting
top,
at, what are we
road
spending
material
on
and supplies, 25,000.
Yes,
198?
that's on the stormwater one.
Yeah.
But that's in a specific division.
So, I mean, is there any way for us to tell what we spent on road repairs on these things?
Well,
Well-
for water and sewer, it's gonna be that 68,000, those are the.
So that's for water leaks,
That's for this year.
water and sewer leaks.
That's where you would charge that, right?
All right, so in
Is that right?
3130, I've spent 85,000 out of a $90,000 budget. In
That's
3130, that's the roads.
Roads.
See, you kind of have three different places
Right.
that you can charge it to.
Okay,
so-
wait a minute. So roads,
But we're not talking about 3130, we're talking about the water.
Well,
Yeah,
let me
we
get
are
You're
that.
kinda-
talking about the whole.
Yeah, let me get that
Right.
number from you again. You've spent what now? 80 something?
85,000.
That's what I remembered. Out of
90.
Right.
It's okay, we've got 2 weeks left in the fiscal year, that's fine.
Yeah, but
Good planning.
I also know the bills that are, I've got like 18,000 and I've got a couple that
just
are.
don't pay them. It's not in the
Well,
budget.
it'll just make next year tougher, so there's really not much point to that.
All right, so after you go through these code numbers, I'm going to ask us to come back and show me where I can find it in this new budget if we can. So that's
See,
just
we
flat out.
spent in 3181, where a lot of the repairs are, we spent $92,481 out of a $70,000 budget.
And On the report that you have, which was printed several weeks ago, it's 68,000. That's the number we were just looking at.
Which is this,
At the time, you know, when you're
Roads,
doing the
materials,
budget, you're
supplies.
thinking that you're gonna meet next year's budget, you're thinking, you know, you haven't spent as much, but we've had a lot of water main breaks this spring. And it's really, and the problem has been it's destroyed roads. It's not just been kind of minor
well, you had that
repairs.
thing in Jim Lake's Extension, for instance.
That was
That
an
was a big
expensive
one,
one.
yeah.
There was one out on Hudson. There's one out on Spring Valley.
I'm not griping about.
Had the one on Alpine.
I'm not griping about
Yeah,
how much you
Alpine.
spent. I'm not griping about how much you spent, because I mean, they were, I didn't see them all, but I'm sure they were all very warranted repairs. I'm just trying to figure out where I can find the numbers. So
Is that number
basically,
consolidated anywhere, Kim? Or is it all, it's all just?
Total road.
Well-
Yeah, it got consolidated into,
It's gonna be under, operating, is part of his operating costs. And it would be under water and sewer utility, when you're talking about by the,
It's page
division.
96, Philip, on that new version that you're not looking at. So it's probably 94, 95, and 97, and 98.
yeah, it's,
It's the
you know.
Engineering and Utilities
yeah, it's,
Department
I don't-
summary, water
Road
and sewer
material and
utilities
supplies is
division.
where, that's what it's called.
So the part that's in water and sewer utility is combined, but the roads that's in the general fund is under roads. That's a little piece of the $2.4 million.
well,
What page is that on?
It's on the page he's on, 96, I think.
well, 96 was here. I mean, 96 only tells me, I've got 4 numbers on it, well, 5 numbers. I got salaries, operating expenses, capital, and other. And those are all big numbers, so I mean, there's no way for me to break out any.
That's why the appendix is there.
Okay, and so then in the appendix,
Yeah, if you go to page 194, road materials and supplies.
yeah, got that one. That's the second of the 2 sets of numbers you gave me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this book.
That was the one that was,
binder.
Yeah.
that was 92,041 versus the $70,000 budgeted. But then the first, the code, that was code 30, 31 or something like that.
Okay, that's in the general fund.
3181.
Right.
That's,
That's
okay.
in the general fund, so we have to go back
See,
to
and,
the roads
and
division.
see, this is a printout that literally is through yesterday.
Right.
So this was, you know, cut off whenever you did the budget.
These are April 30th.
So you think things are going good, but then you have all these problems. So now I've already spent 92,000 out of that 70
What my
budget.
goal is just to be able to know where to look. It's not,
Right.
it's not to,
Right.
it's not to
Well,
throw stones at
that-
the
that
number.
is where you would
30,000
look.
feet, and this is the detail.
Right,
Okay.
and, but, so what I'm trying to find is, I know there's 2 sets of numbers that have gone into repairing roads. I know where one of them is. It's on, of this version 2 of our budget, it's on page 194.
Okay.
Where can I find, in version 2 of the budget, where can I find that other set of numbers? If, is that anywhere?
Are you
in the
talking about
detail?
road repair after you fix the pipe, or you're just talking about
No,
generic? road
after the
repair?
pipe, if it was the road repair as a result of a water or
Water
sewer
leak.
leak or
Yeah.
something, that's this one that we've spent 68,000 as of the date this was printed.
Yeah.
Then
Um,
on page
And then there's-
183,
183.
you'll see road materials and supplies there as well.
And the final numbers, as you were starting to say, the final numbers are going to be different than what's shown here, because this
Yes.
was a snapshot from
Yes.
a day gone by. All right, so on 183, I would find it,
Top section, road materials and supplies, maybe a third of the
okay,
way
so it's
down.
still called road materials and supplies. This is just where roads were deteriorating, and we just had to fix them because there was a problem.
And that one's staying, that'll probably still meet budget.
Okay.
I'm just, you know, you asked me, you know, where I'm uncomfortable, and that's one, but it's almost a more recent result of some of the efforts that we're doing to try and do a better job. So when we first started, we used to just, there'd be a little hole, you'd fill it in with asphalt and leave, and then, you know, there'd be a bigger pothole show up later, and
This
we'd
is-
have to
this-
come back.
the pothole
Now they
money.
fix, yeah, they fix it now, right from the get-go. If you look at some of the state roads, you'll see that they just kind of dump and patch. They don't do any cutting. We saw cut, we find, explore to the confirmation of good density packing, and then we rebuild up and do the lifts like you're supposed to.
Right.
And then where we're, On the larger jobs, we have to contract somebody else to come in because we don't have the equipment that allows us to, do a real paving job. We're hand spreading, so that then becomes a very bumpy surface. So when it's a bigger patch, we typically will hire a contractor who has an asphalt spreader.
And we're actually doing that work, not just on city roads, we're repairing potholes and stuff on state roads too, aren't we?
We aren't doing potholes on state roads. When we have a water leak that caused deterioration of the
That
road,
makes
that's when
sense.
we redo the
Well, I think
work.
I've reported potholes on state roads, and I don't know if y'all just turned around and reported them to the state or what, but somehow
That's
they
what
got
we do.
fixed. The magic of what you do is fixed.
Can I
Much-
shift gears a
the
little bit?
obvious- The obvious statement is that really is wasting taxpayers' dollars. And the last chapter of that book is that if we continue to do nothing, that account will have to be so large that you're gonna end up spending almost as much money as you would if you fixed the whole road.
John, I'm gonna shift gears a bit, if you don't mind, in terms of our roads program.
Yeah.
And what has been recommended to council. And that, to start that's $20 per vehicle. Am I covering something that's already been covered already?
No,
No, we haven't gotten there.
you're-
Okay, am I too far ahead of the process?
You're always
of discussion?
ahead.
That's fine.
For $20 per car, what kind of revenue do we expect to raise with $20 per vehicle?
$500,000.
Okay,
It's the same program that the county has.
okay.
And it's coincidentally, the county is taking $500,000 from city residents and giving
Right,
us
2 miles
nothing
of
back.
roads.
So, wait a minute, I don't understand that.
The county in 1992 adopted a program. They started at $15, then it went to $20.
Right.
But their $20 would accrue as much to them as the $20 fee would accrue to us, which is $500,000. So every year since 1992, it went from 15 to 20, but every year, City of Aiken citizens pay to the county $500,000 a year.
There are more, okay, you're talking about City of Aiken.
Yes.
And
City of
I'm
Aiken.
thinking of county,
No, I'm just
city
talking
and
about
county,
city.
okay.
The problem is there's only 2 miles of county roads so that we're sending $500,000 to the county, and they only have 2 miles of roads that they have to fix with our money. So we're subsidizing the entire county. But the dollar amount's the same. It's $20 per car, so if we implemented the same program, it would mean $20 to us. I mean, it would mean $500,000 a year to us.
Okay.
But you're asking $20 per vehicle for each person, right?
For each
That
vehicle.
owns
For
a
each
car.
vehicle.
Every vehicle.
I mean, that's the program that the county
Uh-huh.
has.
Every
That
vehicle
doesn't
is
mean that
different.
that's the program that we have.
All the time.
Right, so if a person has 4 cars, then they're paying $80.
Yes.
Then they're actually paying 160 because they're paying 20 to the county already.
That's exactly right.
Well.
So Councilor
John-
Price can-
Right, but John, you and I've talked about this
Yeah.
in terms of,
A cattle or something, right?
right, and the cost per car. Given what we've discussed in council in terms of, if I want to use the term playing catch-up, we have not been very conscious about our citizens in terms of tax increases and all those things, the ills that they claim that go along with with having not good government and too much increased taxation. With that, a lot has gone neglected over time. We're trying to play catch up. We're doing it more rapidly than people would expect. And some of the comments that I have had, why can't you all wait? But we've been waiting for years because people have been very expressive and opposed to our doing anything at all. Now we're doing something and we're getting some concerns. One of the things that I've discussed with you is, should we follow the model of the county? Or should we limit ourselves to 2 cars per household? And if we do that, what kind of revenue would we raise? to start a program and do a gradual increase.
Stuart was trying
The,
to
the,
get.
the issue there
20%
is
difference.
that implementation of the program is more important than deciding on
The
a
number.
variety of funding sources. There's no magic to the county's program. It was just a program that was adopted in 1992, and it's an existing program.
That nobody has said much about at all until we decided that we needed to repair our roads as well.
No, the only caveat, if you do a roads maintenance program, and you do it just like the county, then the administration of that program is a lot easier. So that's the other caveat. Help me with the title of I guess it's the treasurer's office? The auditor's office over the county
Okay.
that does this. So we would have to hope that the good folks at the county would work with us in terms of the implementation. But I just know that the more we change the program, the more difficult, I assume, and maybe difficult's the wrong word, but I would assume that if we did something like that, there would have to be a software change in their program or whatever. And that doesn't mean that it's good, bad, or different, but if we don't do it like theirs, there's gonna be some changes. And the other point is, they have the right to say, we're not gonna do this for you. And so then we would have to collect it ourselves. And so,
Is there a fee for them to collect it for us?
no. I mean, it's up to them.
Yes.
But
It's, could be,
We're-
maybe
Well, I would
not.
hope they wouldn't charge us a fee since we get nothing.
Listen, I
when our
think this-
citizens are paying them $500,000 a year, you would
There's
hope
a-
that the good
It's
folks.
a case of fairness to be made that we should first go to the county and ask them for our money.
What, are there plans that we decided
Well,
when
we've never
we'll
talked about
approach
it.
them?
We've never talked about it. In fact, most people have no idea that the county is getting $497,000, I think was the
Yeah.
exact amount you used, from the city of Aiken for road repair
Every
that
year.
does not benefit the city of Aiken at all. I mean, it's.
Well, I think most people aren't aware of that, so we're
Well,
gonna
there-
have
there
to
was-
bring it out.
There was a point in time in this city when money was not a problem.
Right.
I mean, when the site was built up and so forth, you just didn't worry about it. 1992, I wasn't here, but maybe things were rosy, but now they're not so rosy. So I think there's a case to be made to going back to the county and say, look, you're taking they have a balance in that account of about 2.4 million. But either way, in fairness, they're taking money from the city of
Right.
Aiken.
Right.
It seems as though they should be able to return maybe some of that money, most of it, quite frankly, to the city.
Well, I think people may be more receptive to it if we break it down and let them know that that's what's
Yes.
going on. Because
And the other side of this is it's $20 for a vehicle registered in the city of Aiken. That includes businesses. So some businesses are gonna get a hard hit if they've got a lot of vehicles.
Well, what if we have a meeting, a certain delegation go to the county to meet with a delegation, a group of folks, and propose a combined roads program with some of the dollars that they've collected from our citizens who pay dual taxes, city and county taxes. And along with our roads program, that will accelerate our rate of repairing a lot of these roads if we have our roads program and then working with the county funds as well. Is that possible? At least to ask the question, will they work with us in terms of trying to provide some of those funds to help repair some of our
I
Maybe
roads?
mean, the
we could-
truth is, that could be accomplished with one phone call.
Okay,
The fact is that I'm not averse to exploring that. And you raised an interesting point, which is some folks have said to you, why are we rushing along? And I would suggest that the county did this in 1992. This is 2016. Our roads are getting to a point where this is gonna be dramatically more costly if we don't get our arms around this problem. And so the thought that we're being precipitous, the truth is, we should have done this 30 years ago. That's the truth. We should have had a roads program 30 years ago, like communities all across this country. This is not precipitous, this is not last minute, this isn't something that just came up and running.
we
When
kick
I-
the can down the road.
You
Because
have
of-
for years and years and years.
Right.
And when I was interviewed for this job, the council asked me in my interview, I sat right in that chair. The council was right there, and one of the first
And I sat
questions
over
you
there.
asked was, do you have any experience in things like roads in infrastructure. I could even tell you which counselor it was, but I won't.
Well, I can too.
Do you have any experience in this? And then we just went through a strategic planning process, and you wisely said that you have two highest priorities. One was north side development issues, and the
And
other was
infrastructure.
infrastructure, whatever. So we're really not, we can be accused of a lot of things, but doing things precipitously is not, I mean, we're not gonna get any awards for being proactive in
Visionaries,
the area,
yeah.
or visionaries in the
Mhm.
area of
Being good
infrastructure.
stewards, of our town.
So, I mean, the point is that I was kind of charged with coming up with some proposals, and I did. Are they the best proposals? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that people have a variety of opinion. And I'm very open to looking at alternatives. The only thing, as your city manager, I have tried to the best of my ability to say, don't kick that can anymore. If you want to change the proposal, if you want to do this alternative, I really, from a management standpoint, it really doesn't matter to me. What really does matter to me is that we need to go into the year 2018 implementing
A roads program.
both the roads and the infrastructure program. And if we don't do that, in 5 years, we're gonna be in a very different place, and it's not gonna be a good place.
John, the other comments I'm hearing is with the governor, with the budget, the state budget, why aren't we using those funds to repair roads? People think that those funds are coming to the city of Aiken, Aiken County, and here are dollars that we should be using instead of initiating our own roads program for the future.
I mean, I don't know if there's another state that has any worse roads than South Carolina.
Amen.
I would assume that you're right towards the bottom. And so, when someone says to me, which they have, why should we do it, the state's not doing it? I'm not responsible for the state, I work for the
The
city.
city.
And the citizens of the city, and I'm just, sometimes you shoot the messenger, and maybe I'm the messenger that's gonna get shot. But the fact is, it's so blatantly clear what we need to do as a city. And it was very interesting. We've already had first reading, and every one of the citizens that got up to speak, not one of them said, I don't think we need a roads program. They raised the issue, and it's a legitimate issue about how we're gonna pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality. I mean, to deny that we need a roads program and to deny that we need to not only figure out the condition of our pipes in the ground, but to do something about it, defies logic. I mean, it just defies logic. And so I just hope that this council will deliberate and look at alternatives. But my only hope is that at the end of the day, you come up with a solution.
And I will agree with you. No one has said to me, you don't need a roads program. You don't need to fix the roads.
Or
The question is, the comment is, they don't want to pay for it. And I don't know how you have a program without,
And for those of us that have lived other than Aiken, I've never lived in a city, and I've been stationed all over the country. Now admittedly, living on a base doesn't count. I've never been in a place where the roads that I lived in weren't the responsibility of the city. And here in Aiken, South Carolina, most of our roads are state roads. So we got an easier job than we would have if we lived in any other city that I've lived in, because they would be responsible for every road within the city. We
Well-
only have to worry about, what have we got, 85 miles of road?
85 to 90.
Yeah, and we
We
don't
have
have the problems that John
153.
has dealt with snow and sleet and snow plows and so forth, so.
well, I think we have to convince the citizens, if that is possible, that we have looked every direction to try to find alternative funds and just not springing the $20 fee.
But I would submit, it's not
unjustly.
just springing, because we're talking about something that will not start till January. And we've
Well,
certainly had a long.
it's coming, it's coming. They
Yes,
recognize
we've
it's
had a
coming.
long time between first and second
Right.
reading. I'm not even sure, there's no need to bring it up for second reading until collectively we agree that we need to do something.
Well, except I think staff deserves to have a direction of how we're gonna fund this
Right.
program. I mean, that's,
Yes, yeah.
I know I know the
Good
point you're making. but-
Yeah, good point.
And people have asked questions, there've been a lot of questions, I appreciate them, like, why don't you use the hospitality tax? One guy just last night said to me, I didn't like the hospitality tax, but since you have it, why don't you use it for roads? It's a very legitimate question.
There's an answer for that.
And my answer is twofold. First of all, as we will talk about in a few minutes, I am proposing that we spend $400,000 of hospitality tax money for roads. But the roads that I'm proposing that it be spent for are new roads to come up with a solution to the traffic congestion on Whiskey Road. Because the issue with the hospitality tax is that every dollar of that money is supposed to be going towards the use, or to the benefit of our visitors. So if you have a cul-de-sac and a subdivision over in Gem Lakes, then that's really not
The purpose.
the purpose of the hospitality tax. So the point is, I actually am proposing that we use a considerable amount of the hospitality tax, $400,000 a year, for roads. But it's for the new roads that our visitors, our tourists and our visitors will enjoy when they come to visit Aiken. Otherwise, we really couldn't totally fund our, first of all, it would not be in keeping with what the promise that was made for the hospitality tax in terms of how it would be spent. And it's probably, it wouldn't be legal to fully fund our city roads program just with the hospitality tax.
Thanks for the response.
John, how much are we talking about right now about funding? If we're looking at the vehicle maintenance, 400 from hospitality.
The 400 for hospitality is
Okay,
being
that's
proposed
not
in-
road maintenance, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
that's,
that's.
the road maintenance
It's
is
new roads.
$500,000 a year.
Do we think 500 would be enough?
Well, in a perfect world, no, it wouldn't, we can't maximize, but it's a reasonable estimate. If anything, it's low, but it's not incredibly low. It would allow, we've consulted with Rick Toole and his engineers and George and whatever, and we believe that the implementation of the program would be a legitimate roads program. Would it be the Cadillac roads programs? No, it wouldn't. But it would get us off spending this expensive money on potholes and rebuilding of roads instead of doing the pavement maintenance that we talked about. That hugely extends the life of the road.
You're still gonna have potholes and still gonna
That's
have
right.
things to fit. I mean, you'll still have items in these line items that we just talked about.
Where you're gonna have water breaks, I mean, you're gonna have that.
I mean, you still
And
have
you're
some
gonna
money in both
pavement.
of those budget.
But the goal is to have much fewer.
Have it as low as possible.
Yeah.
Is that money gonna still be budgeted in those line items in the next budget as well, or is it all gonna be consolidated to road maintenance?
Well, there's several items, as Mr. Murray pointed out. One is the amount of money that's used for water leaks. That's gonna continue. The amount of money for potholes, I mean, this is the other issue, is that you get into a contentious debate about whether you need a roads program, and the community finally accepts it. And then like a week later, people say, how come my road's not done? And the truth is that if you implement a roads program, it's gonna take years to fully implement it, so you'll still need money, as Councilor Mary points out, for patching in the lake. The $500,000 is not gonna, we can't overnight do 90 miles of roads. So yes, you'd still need a line item for patches and.
The line
Maintenance.
item that currently this year in the general fund is $90,000 for road materials and supplies is $65,410 next year, so it does have a
Yeah,
slight
that was,
reduction.
that was that one we looked at earlier, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to get you off track, George.
Oh, I'm here to answer questions, so what other questions do you have?
And the transportation improvement program that has been proposed, that would be funded through some of the proceeds of the franchise fee, would initially, we envision, be used to significantly reduce traffic congestion on Whiskey Road. We get complaints every day about it, it's gonna get a lot worse. That's what that program would be for. And it also could be at the discretion of the council, be used for things like bike paths and sidewalks. You know, we have a lot of neighborhoods that have sidewalk issues. Some selective underground utilities, but those are all decisions of the council in terms of how to use the money. But the thought is that the franchise fee money is for new things, new sidewalks, new roads, new bike paths, new sidewalks and the like, as opposed to road maintenance, which is fixing what you already have.
I've got a question for you, George. I know in the last couple of years, you've been able to bring in, whether it's called grant money or not, I think of it as grant money, but you've been able to bring in some alternative funding sources to help get some things done, buy some equipment and what have you. But I also read frequently about other places throughout South Carolina who are doing certain projects, whether they be dealing with water or roads or sewer or anything else, and they are taking advantage of a lot of different, whether it's federal or state, a lot of different funds and things out there. How is it, how can we find out more about those kinds of funding sources and take advantage of it? What would be a way to start optimizing our access to those things and actually getting as much of those dollars as possible? And I don't know how many there are. I just read it from time to time. I'll hear that so-and-so just got $500,000 for a stormwater management thing from the state of South Carolina or whatever.
Council Member Price just mentioned something this morning, and that is she has a long history with the Council on Governments, but we have a new head of that, who I've had several conversations with, and he's remarked that the relationship with the city is a good one, but our discussions are infrequent, and we need, that's I think our first stop, because they have people.
That sounds like a good point.
The other point is that we have terrific legislators both at the state and the federal level, but the truth is, for example, our two U.S. senators have a lot of communities. And the truth is, if you don't knock on their door, they're both terrific and they're helpful, but we need to have a more systematic approach so that every time there's a grant opportunity, we're getting information from our U.S. senators and our Congress people or whatever. They're there to help us, and they're terrific when we ask, but I don't think we ask enough.
Do you envision, and this is all a matter of just sort of curiosity, do you envision, your department heads finding out about them, bringing them to you, and then going after them, or, I mean, how?
I think it's both our department heads being more aggressive in their fields of expertise, but also trying to open up the line of communications to our elected representatives.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Is it, I mean, you're busy, you got 9.5 full-time equivalent employees, it looks like. I mean, how realistic is it to really be able to bird dog some of that kind of stuff? And can we?
Well, you do it as part of the projects that you develop. You do make contacts. I am on certain email lists and the EPA and different things, and so I'll pursue. A lot of them tend to be very narrowly focused, but one that it's not a grant, but the state revolving fund. That's something that Kim and I looked into this past year. And for the sewer project, and we talk about being proactive, our downtown Sand River sanitary sewer basin, which basically is the historic downtown area and the greater area, plus Kilmea Hills and Aiken Estates. They're the oldest. They all feed down to our biggest watershed, our biggest sanitary sewer line, and that's where we have our oldest and our most concern when it comes to sanitary sewer pipe. And right now, we have an application in for a $10 million state revolving fund loan at 1.8% interest. So we would, so you develop the project and then you develop the contacts with the state. It's administered through the DHEC. It is federal funding. It's kind of a revolving fund because you borrow money, gets paid back, the fund grows, they can, loan out more money. But you can spread your cost of, a 2-year construction over a 30-year loan, 20 or 30 years. And that way you can, fund the debt load using, your current fee structure rather than having to, raise rates. So that's one of the things that you can do, and so it depends on just how bad your infrastructure is to how much it needs. We did the $10 million an estimate to go through the It's a grouting and an assessment. You would remove the tree roots, you'd treat for the tree roots, you'd cut them, you'd remove the hammer taps, and then you'd go in with a grouting system, and then you at the same time as you're doing that, you're assessing them so that then you know what a phase 2 project, which is where you have collapses, where you have
Structural repairs and stuff.
structural repairs that, grouting won't fix. But what you'll have is a 25, 30-year extension on the life of everything that isn't a phase 2, more significant repair. And now you know exactly how much more money you need to spend.
So
And you're killing multiple birds with one stone.
So it's not and this is just, what they say about assuming things. This is just an assumption that I'd made based on nothing. But the assumption that I always made is that, we weren't getting maybe as many of those as I'd like to see, as many of those grants things I'd like to see, because we really didn't have the time to pursue them all. And it sounds like what you're saying is it's not a matter of that you pursue all those that are applicable. If there was 2 George Grintons, we wouldn't get any more grants than if there's just 1 George Grinton.
Part of it is, what I'm trying to express is that you've got to have a project in mind in order to find out if there are grant opportunities. So one of the things we have been doing is assessing. So if you don't have kind of a list of projects to do, you don't have a reason to go out and look for grants. So it's a little bit of, chicken and egg. So now that we're starting to develop the projects, we are now also looking harder at the grant opportunities.
The one that comes
John,
to
may
mind.
I ask a question? John, some municipalities have grant writers within the municipality.
They do.
We've never had that. And I'm assuming that each department seeks its own grants. I've sent you some information, you and Stuart, and you're too busy to pursue what I send, but I'm just sending information based on what comes across my screen. But certainly if we had a grant writer within the city, their salary could be written in the grant as an administrator, and it would pay for itself. So I would like for us to investigate that. I think it would be to all of our benefits that person would spend their time seeking these opportunities out.
I mean, I've seen different models. There are models where a community will hire a person that's either part-time or full-time, just to
Right.
to
That's
kind
true.
of coordinate grants. I've seen communities hire firms that do it
That's
for
no-
them. So there are different models out there, and I've also seen some that have been wildly successful, and I've seen some that I think is
Zero.
zero.
Mhm.
And so I think we need to, and I would want to have this discussion with the council. We need to explore that, because there are so many examples out there where, I mean, if you get a good grant coordinator and they hit on 2 or 3 big grants, I mean,
Pay for itself.
they've just paid for themselves for the next 5 years. But there's a risk involved, and I think it starts with an assessment of how effective your present operation is, and we kind of have a decentralized program presently. First question I have is, how successful are we at learning about grant opportunities?
That's what I was
Because
talking.
you can have, George can think that the cat's meow,
Exactly.
but there might be a dozen opportunities
There
that he
are.
would have no reason to know about. If
Right.
you don't know about it, you can't.
I've got a friend that made a fortune off of consolidating those kinds of things he created a website that started consolidating those things, and basically it was a search engine. Did it in Atlanta. He was a millionaire in his early 30s and sold it for gazoodles, but basically it created a search engine for grants and contracts and things like that. And that's the question is, do we know all about them? Because to me, I think about the challenge that we've got at Hitchcock Woods with stormwater. And there's so much emphasis placed on open space and maintaining our green and natural spaces, that it seems to me that with enough diligence that there's bound to be something out there that could potentially help, with our eventual efforts at Hitchcock Woods. I mean, that's just so seems like it so easily fits in some of the
And
slots.
it's so unique that you'd see not only government possibilities, but foundation and private.
Yeah, and there's bound to be, I think, some outlet, and, you know, I don't expect you to know every grant in the world and every foundation and everything else in the world. That's why I said if we had more than one George Grinton. But I think, and I have interrupted you, but I think that first point is a very good one.
And the other issue is, so in the first instance, do you know about the opportunities? And secondly, do you have the capacity to be competitive?
Lower Savannah can help us with some of that as well.
See, I've been here a year now, and I think they're terrific.
They
I
are.
don't think that we ask them enough.
You're absolutely correct.
And I'm gonna have a conversation
Yeah.
with Bill
Bill.
about that very
Yeah.
shortly.
That'll definitely be the first step.
Mhm.
And I think talking to our delegation, both Joe Wilson and the senators,
Yep.
we got contacts in Graham's office, don't we? We have an Aikenite
We
in
do.
there. So,
We
They're
do.
terrific.
And
In
Joe
all of the
Wilson's
offices,
office.
but we just don't.
And Joe Wilson and Lindsey Graham's office.
Yes,
Ready for PRT?
Mhm.
Parks,
Thank you.
PRT ready for us.
Thank you, George.
Welcome.
While she's coming up, a general question. Our consultant, I assume we're gonna give our
That's all
budget
right.
to the ladies, the two people that we talked to,
Yeah.
and started us on this, and get an evaluation of what we've done.
No, we're actually going to take the document as passed and submit it to the Government Finance Officers
Yes.
Association. They have the national entity,
For that
and
line.
they will review that. They have a general team from all over the country. They will review that document and give you like 27 pages of comments.
Okay.
We can do that every year
And then
until we get
Are we
certification.
comparing it to Anderson's? Because there's the format that we stole.
Well,
So
we,
it's compared to all of the ones that submitted to the.
Yeah, no, I know that, but I mean, in particular, Anderson, because we're talking about the rolling page with what you put in at the back.
How you
For
feel
example, we don't have a lot of salary information.
after
here. I don't
grads?
know whether it should
How
be
you
in
feel
here.
today?
Typically, we've not made that public. but-
we should go
You
back,
heard?
because that was the
You gonna be here?
model.
I'm good. It works at 7 o'clock
And
this
look at the
morning.
two documents now, that's
We need
getting
coffee.
done.
My
So we'll do that. And we'll look nationally.
my car hurts more than I do.
This is great.
It wasn't too
You
hard
got a
to charge,
rental?
was it? You were sitting still?
You got a run? Yeah, I was.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted, before
No, not yet. I haven't.
Director Campbell
Gil, I
begins,
have been working since
give
7
the
a.m.
council an
this
update on a meeting that we had this morning.
Yes,
At the
sir.
request of the council. We got together, and Councilmember Price was with us, with the representatives of the Council on Aging, to try to set a framework for negotiations or discussions. They are desirous of getting approximately 3,500 square feet between their administrative offices, a large kitchen, and several ancillary operations. And so we had a frank conversation. It is been difficult as a newcomer because there's been so many conversations with so many people that aren't here anymore. And so to hear, well, this person said this, and that's, I mean, so the first goal today was to try to get everyone to focus on the future, not what happened in the past. The other thing is that we very clearly explained to them that it was the consensus of the council to do something that we all can be proud of, but that we're gonna live within our budget. And that meant constraints on what, because they participated in a series of meetings where it was really high in the sky. What would you like in a perfect world? And they weren't understanding that that was just part of the planning process, that because we talked about something 3 years ago, didn't mean we have the money to do it. And so it was kind of a dose of reality to bring everyone back to the fact that all we have money for, whether they participate or not, is a 14 to 15,000 square foot building. That's what we have. And so we went back and forth or whatever. So we've created a team of Jessica, Joy Gillespie, and Gary Smith. That they're going to be on the team from the city. They're going to begin sitting down with the team from the Council on Aging. And the goal would be to actually hammer out a draft memorandum. Because there's the 30,000 foot issues like, hey, how much are you gonna kick into this? And we're spending millions, how much, you know, what are you in for? And then how, do you have reserves, do you have land, do you have, I mean, how, are you gonna participate with us in grant opportunities or whatever? So there's like the big issues that need to be addressed. But at some time, real soon, we need to finalize a conversation like, who's gonna run the building? Who's gonna manage it on a daily basis? Who's gonna do what? Who's gonna control the building? What happens when a seniors group wants to run it, when we got something else going on with them? So there's 1,000,001 details. So I've charged Jessica and Joy and Gary to like commit themselves, if need be, 3 or 4 times a week, to get a draft memorandum of agreement together so that we can come back to you and see whether it's whether there's any sense that it's what you're hoping and desirous of or not. And they have to bring it back to their board as well.
Well, during that meeting, did Scott say that they were able to come up with any funding?
Well,
For-
the decision on
from the
that
council.
is going to be made from the board. Now, Mr. Marshall Kane
Kane,
was there.
attorney.
Mr. Doug Duffer,
Doug Haley.
Doug Haley was there, and Mr., is it Pennington?
Dr. Pennington.
Pennington were there. They're the 3 representatives from their board. So, we all know they have property, whether they're willing to pledge it or not is up for discussion. They have an opportunity for some grants, and they're willing to do that. And kick the proceeds of the grant into the project. But what those details are, I don't know. I mean, if we strictly look at what it's going to cost for their square footage, it's gonna cost $800,000 to build their administrative offices as an appendage to our operation. Have a.
They want a full
big
kitchen.
A kitchen that we don't need, but they need.
Right.
And then to have a few other areas.
Exercise room.
They need. I mean, you will have to decide as the elected officials of the city whether it's reasonable that they pay all of it, or whether they should pay some of it at least. And on the other side, if they start throwing their money into the deal, they're gonna want an agreement on our part. They're not gonna give us $600,000 and then be kicked out in a year. So there's gonna have to be a lease, long-term lease or whatever, so the message that I sent to them is that the good news is that we're ready to rock and roll on this. The bad news is that there's a bunch of details that need to be worked out. And unlike when they talked about it with Richard and Roger and Glenn and people, this is real, we're ready to go. And so I'm hopeful that they'll start meeting. The whole concept hasn't been agreed to by them. We're waiting to hear back from them. They have a board meeting, I think, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
And they're gonna decide whether they're gonna participate in this or not. So, I'm hoping that we'll get a call on Wednesday, and they'll say, let's get going, meet a couple times every week until we know, and we'll just keep the council updated.
John, did you get a date from Bill Mueller?
I have not, we have not, we're trying to get a meeting between Scott and myself
Right.
on that, but I want to couple that with the larger issue about the city.
Mhm.
I want to do both meetings at the same meeting. So hopefully we'll hear by the end of the week on that. So I just wanted to give you an update on Eustace Park.
Considering the challenge of bringing it in, I said this the other day, but I still really am impressed with how well y'all have brought it into a package that can work. And I know there's a lot of details to work out, but the number one thing down there is to make something that would be really good, really functional for the community. That serve, in my opinion, I want it to make sure first and foremost that it serves the seniors even before the youth. The scary thing for me when we started talking about cutting it down and making it smaller and all that was that it may not preserve that functionality and whatnot. And I think y'all have done that. And I know that was a collaboration between you and Jessica and Cam and everybody else. But I just was with what the drawing that we got the other day compared to where it was headed a year ago this time. I think shows a lot of progress and some good work.
I give the credit to the council. Made it a priority and directed us to get it done. PRT questions. George Warren.
Yes, that's fine.
Are the pickleballers happy?
We're getting there. We're still trying to complete that outdoor.
We gotta
court,
figure out how to do
so-
silent pickleball.
Yes.
You're probably gonna be, well, you're moving outside for some courts.
Correct. So we just installed or in the process of completing that project where the old skate park was.
Okay, in some places they've lined up a regular tennis court for pickleball.
Correct.
Are we gonna do that?
Yeah, that's already set up on the public play courts near the Ceramic Center.
Okay.
That's lined and ready to go. Now, we've had a recent request for a group at Cownia
There's
Park
a
to know those two lines that we're getting some estimates on what that would cost.
107.
I think it gave me that cost.
Are you on the new-
Yeah.
That's that before.
Right, so there's a group
Beat 'em
that's
up.
Yeah,
pushing us to do that,
That's
so,
just-
and then we'll continue to use the inside during the summer.
correct.
I certainly would play
But that's the-
pickleball.
Well, either, both are year-round, indoor,
Yeah,
outdoors,
that's the-
it's
yeah.
at their
Same
discretion.
thing you saw with
We gotta do a tournament this
It's
year?
in
Yes,
here
and that
in
one, we
person.
are not bringing in a
And then it
tournament
breaks
tournament
out
director, we're
back here.
actually doing it internal
This
with the
one.
group. It'll be in the fall.
One thing that I forgot, to just jump back to Eustis for 1 second, is that another advantage of collaborating with the Council on Aging and therefore achieving some cost savings is, I was down again at Eustis Park the other day, and it's
I
dark.
don't know what those mean.
It needs work. And if there could be some cost savings, I'm going to be advocating that we have somewhat of a facelift to the Eustis Park facility.
We do have a current grant out.
We have a grant
Which
application too.
a grant writer would have been helpful because these are challenging to.
But it'd be nice to, while we're building this beautiful new building with beautiful landscaping, to
Well, we've got, I mean, it's good that you got a grant. If we come
Yeah.
through, great, but you've got maybe another full year before,
That's right.
at best, before you really have to have it spiffy.
yep.
The key here too is that at Parks and Rec, they have the chief working together with public safety, Parks and Rec. There are a lot of grants out there because you're working with, under at-risk programs. And just need somebody to take the time to go and search for those dollars.
This grant is our Land and Water Conservation Fund, which
Mhm.
is where water uses was originally funded through, so they're able to.
US Forest, they're under all kinds of entities that we would not even dream that we could find money
Exactly right.
under those programs.
And that's really
the
the
challenge.
definition of a successful grant operation, where you don't get the, I mean, George, when he's trying to build roads or whatever, there's the Department of Transportation Roads program that everyone knows about.
Mhm.
But
And
it's the
everybody's applying
unique
for the same
things
thing.
that in collaborations that really can add up.
And forestry offers summer work opportunity for those kids who are in the at-risk category. Just great. I've been shocked, but you don't learn these things till you get out of your hometown and start going to some of these meetings and workshops. And that's how you benefit with the knowledge that's out there.
As we start working with, particularly the north side park, is there any thought to talking to maybe one of the Corps of Engineers or with the Guard engineer groups as far as doing some of the clearing? And that might be a Joy question more so, Jessica, but you know, they do training exercise where they would go in for a week and I know, I can't remember what the public project was that somebody just told me about as an example. I'll try to recall it, but
It was the Carriage Museum, I can't think of the name of it. They were able to get a bunch of lieutenants from Fort Gordon to come over on a Saturday and, what's the name of it? Come on, you old timers, you gotta help me out here.
You're talking about,
The one that, was it off of Richland down towards the DMV side off to the right?
you're talking about the barn.
Yes.
Gas
delivery.
delivery.
Gas delivery.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they had some kind of connection.
Who you
They
calling
had a
old
couple-
timers?
Anybody here longer than me. But they had a group of lieutenants from the Army Engineering School over and did a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. And Reggie was there too, doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there because I think it's a potential that we could.
Dr. Alford, School District, we're proceeding along with that, with their move, the
We are, but we haven't closed yet because we're in the process. I think tomorrow, the next day, you'll get a memo from Joy, which attempts to address the legitimate concerns that were raised about liability. I think so that you can better understand, on the one hand, you have a liability. I don't think we were particularly successful in explaining the truth about that. And so you'll be getting a memo on that issue, in terms of the risk.
Signs were posted today as well.
I'm sorry?
Signs were posted today
Okay,
as
and
well.
on the other hand, the memo will include a further explanation of the timetable and crunches that they're under as well. So it's a matter of, it's a balancing act.
Have you spoken with him personally, John?
I have talked to him, he called me, I think it was last week.
Okay.
Might have been 8 or 10 days ago.
Jessica, on page 110, there seems to be a sizable increase in tourism in the tourism budget. That's what this top portion is. From 92,000 to 133, from 286 to 411. 94 down to 54. Can you talk us through why that is higher? What more you're doing?
Let me go
That's from the hospitality
to.
tax budget.
Right, that predominantly is coming from the hospitality tax funds and our local
That's that-
accommodation tax funding.
Marketing
That's
and
it.
promotion.
If I keep answering hospitality tax, I won't have to say anything.
That's the additional market that was in the hospitality tax.
Yeah, we go to that.
But you've already. Okay.
Yeah, you can see where hospitality,
As soon as we get the hospitality tax.
Yeah.
where it jumped from 30,000 to 170,000 in the hospitality tax.
Okay. All right.
Steve? I know. Are there any other questions for Jessica?
Not questions, but a comment. Rick and I had the pleasure of attending the Leadership Aiken meeting at Smith Hazel today. They were interested in the plans for the North Side facility, and Rick and I really didn't even need to be there. They asked so many hard questions, and Jessica did a great job in answering those questions. And when asked if anyone in the room thought we didn't, and I personally asked if need a North Side facility, no one said that they thought that we didn't need it. Everybody thought that we did need it, and they wanted to hear about it. They had some suggestions. Some of the ideas they had very thought-provoking. But, you know, when Glenn left this position, I know he had some big shoes we had some big shoes to fill, but I think Jessica has done a tremendous job
Even
in
with little
filling
feet.
that. And
With little
she,
feet.
right, with little feet.
What side street you were, Jessica?
But Rick and I were so impressed
Absolutely.
Appreciate that. Thank
with
you.
her knowledge, and everyone was very satisfied with the information that she presented. So, I thank you.
And I've been outside in parks all day, woods and all.
I
so
prefer for my Parks and Rec
Yeah.
person to work like
Apologize.
that.
Yeah, we wouldn't
I like
go to the
it.
woods with her.
Yeah, we went out in the
We
woods.
decided
Yeah, I
we
think you
weren't
look
going
great.
to the woods.
We did our presentation at
Yes,
Smith Hazel.
inside,
In
but
the
it was
air
cool.
conditioning, air conditioning.
How much walking did you do on the property?
We were there 15 minutes.
Uh-huh.
We went
Well, we
a
were there
little
about
tiny
15
ways.
minutes.
I could've gone with you.
We
Could've gone with you in my high heels, couldn't I?
did cross the 4-lane highway there.
I'd like to
so-
see that.
Wow.
She can do it.
Right.
We did have to
Yeah,
run
she can
across
do
the
it.
4-lane.
Leslie wanted
Thank
them
you,
to
I
do
appreciate
it.
that.
I'm
But
the
you did well.
president of the Leslie Fan Club. She can
Well,
do it.
Leslie can run in the high heels,
Yeah.
don't you know?
I'm telling you, nothing she can't do.
Jessica, thank you.
Appreciate it.
So could we end with a brief conversation about hospitality and economic reinvestment? Because there's been questions about that. The truth is that whether you like the hospitality tax or not, we have it at this point, and the proceeds from that will continue to be in the hospitality tax fund. There also has been and will continue to be an economic reinvestment fund. Balance in the economic reinvestment fund, we project at the end of the year to be somewhere between somewhere around 300,000, 300,000 to 400,000. So what am I proposing with the hospitality tax? I'm asking for a little more clarity in terms of what we're spending it on, and I've broken it down to three major areas. And the three areas are in accordance with what I call the Bible, the state law. It says what you can spend hospitality tax on. The last three, the six categories. The last three seem to be most relevant to what we're doing. You can use hospitality tax money for highways, roads, streets, bridges, and associated expenditures, providing access to tourist destinations. Part of the new program that we're proposing is to create a fund called a Transportation Improvement Fund that would allow us from time to time to build new roads and infrastructure to deal with traffic congestion. The one right out of the box, obviously, is our desire to significantly improve over a period of time the traffic congestion on Whiskey Road. So I'm proposing that $400,000 a year of hospitality tax money be used for roads, for the Transportation Improvement Program. Now, we have heard complaints about the other program, the Roads Maintenance Program, from folks that said, you know, we're not the only ones that use our roads. Our visitors use our roads too. Why aren't you allowing them to share in the burden of our roads? And that's exactly what this is designed to do. We want to take $400,000 of the hospitality tax, which, according to the original figures, 60% of which come from
Our visitors, tourist visitors.
So this is a way to share the burden in our roads with them. So we're proposing that. We continue the commitment that you made that we address comprehensively downtown infrastructure, and specifically the issue of parking and associated needs downtown. My only editorial comment, and it is as a Monday morning quarterback, it's not meant to be critical, is that if we do build a parking facility, that we do it to address long-term needs. My concern was that what was originally proposed was more today's needs as opposed to long-term needs. And really, to do that, you need a greater commitment. And so I'm proposing that until a time we reach a point where you ultimately decide yes or no on a specific project, that we stop putting more money aside for that, because the amount of money that was originally there, I don't think is going to allow us to build the type of facility that we're hearing from our engineers that we need. So this budget gives a greater commitment to that, to the tune of $750,000. And the last category, which is directly in line with what we can spend the hospitality tax on, is a greater investment in the area of marketing, promotions to potential visitors. And so we've taken the hospitality tax and boiled it down to three silos in accordance with what the state law says we can do with it. And I'm proposing that we spend it on roads, new road construction, and associated expenditures if the council supports it, which might mean sidewalks in high priority areas. It might mean a bike path. It might even mean underground utilities in a certain area along the road. Those are all decisions that you would need to make. The second is your downtown commitment that you've already made, and the third is marketing and tourism. if we do that, there can be no question. There always will be a question about whether we should have a hospitality tax, but there really can't be, in my opinion, and I've consulted with attorneys, that we're not using it absolutely in accordance with what's allowed.
Thank you.
The other issue is the economic reinvestment, which is a tool that we've used, I think, very successfully, and it's one that I support. And I have it originally proposed, because there's a balance of somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000. There will be a balance there, and whether that's enough, one doesn't know, because we don't know what's right around the corner. We hope there are other projects out there that are meritorious, that it would prove that if we invested a small amount of money, that will pay dividends. And some of those projects we don't even know about yet. And so we're trying to work I'm trying to work with Kim as we get closer to the end of the year. And if there is money, which we believe is going to be left over unexpended, because I have been judicious in not filling positions as quickly as we might to save money. And there are other tools that we've used. I'm hoping that by the time you take the final vote, I'll have a more firm number, because I'd like to put something in the Economic Reinvestment Fund, because I think it's in our best interest. And so I just wanted to say this: there's still a hospitality tax, and there's still a fund, there's still an Economic Reinvestment Fund. We're fully supportive of it, and we would like to even put some more money in it. And we hope that we can, on Monday, report to you that that's a possibility.
John, I don't know whether all of us are fully aware of what happened with Charleston if you go back 30 years ago. And what was the catalyst to get things moving?
Joe Riley.
What was it?
Joe Riley.
Besides Joe Riley. But the engine that drove it was that single hotel, Charleston Place. That's the Belmont. But we had someone in town, Aiken, yesterday, and he could not stop talking about. He had some drinks over at the Aiken Hotel, and was wondering why we were allowing that hotel to sit as is. And then he started citing the history. He's been in Charleston for about 50 years of what has taken place, and
that's the same story as Greenville that we learned on the tour.
that
exactly
one
right.
engine
Exactly right.
drove it all, and it is highly successful.
Was it the
Well,
Poinsettia or something?
A hotel, Poinsett.
Poinsett,
Yeah, a
yes.
hotel is an interesting thing, because everybody agrees and understands that residential in your downtown area is a really good thing. It supports your businesses, it creates vitality and all that. But the better version of residential for your downtown is a hotel, because these residents are new every night, and so they're discovering your town for the first time every night, and they're gonna go spend dollars every night.
And they bring other people.
Yeah,
when
bring
they
other people.
return.
And that's a lot better than somebody that lives there year round and gets tired of eating at Malia's or tired of eating at Prime or whatever it is. So, hotel is the best kind of residential you can have in your downtown area.
This guest was very complimentary of what Ann has done to the Carriage House Inn. That's what they,
Beautiful.
yeah. And we've got, next week, probably about 20 people coming in from out of state to stay at the Carriage House Inn, so.
I never get tired of Malia's, though.
No, I know. She's been doing that for,
I had
you
a
know, she had to
tomato.
walk into opening that restaurant. She was not sure if she wanted to do it, and somebody said, just give it a shot, it might work. And to me, it's been the most consistently great food in Aiken.
I had a
for years.
tomato and Vidalia pie. It was so good. Before I got to
Didn't
my
get that in
car, I had to
Boston.
call my wife to tell her about it. That's how good it was.
But the key here is, you know what the Belmont Charleston Place looked
Yeah.
like. It has that ambience that draws you in, and that's the tastefulness that you have, you'll need with this hotel. But the other point is, the city helped out with that.
Really?
Oh, same in
Yes.
Greenville. Greenville actually swung and missed once with the .7. So the second go-around, they said, we gotta make this work
Right.
right. And it was a grand slam home run, as everybody knows. So,
So you'll need to hear, if you get a moment, we can talk about that.
that's interesting stuff. That's good.
That's all I had to say, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions for Kim, John, department heads who are here? Do we have any question about the HR budget?
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Let's make the HR
John Clem. The reason I got into this discussion was because it all boils down with so much money coming in with hospitality tax. And it all filters in with all this reinvestment and those kinds of things. It pays off.
It does.
You have to invest something to get something, so.
John,
Precisely.
as we move forward,
Absolutely.
I mean, Main Street is an exciting program, and I hope as Main Street progresses and as the steering committee I know is starting to form, I hope everybody on council somehow we can plug that in, because I think it's exciting and it's the fruit of a lot of effort from council for that. But I mean, parking initiatives and those sort of things, for costs associated with that, are we tying up money that could be used for that? Is there any flexibility in any way that we could?
I mean, it's the council that's gonna determine what, the beauty of the Economic Reinvestment Fund is that it isn't as, I mean, the limitations on the hospitality tax are really significant. There's more flexibility, clearly, that's why I support the Economic Reinvestment Fund, there's more flexibility. And so those are issues that the council will need to decide whether or not.
Okay. And I know we don't have any numbers right now on what something like that may run, but I just know as we start talking about doing work, whether it be through connectivity, using our parkways and,
Yeah.
and the different things that were exciting in the conversations with our citizens. You know, I know it's gonna take some dollars on the city's part, so.
Well, and I think you're right, Rick. The comments that I made about the North Side Park, for instance, was about if we're going to spend all this money, we want something that people can see and enjoy every single day, and I believe that. But also, with respect to having done these visioning processes and all the other stuff, after asking them, and I mentioned this briefly earlier to the city manager, after asking the people, what they wanted in this city, we did the Boudreaux project and the Main Street thing. It would be nice through the use of the Economic Reinvestment Fund and whatever other funds are available to give them some of the things they asked for so they can start enjoying this stuff every day. Obviously, we've got a responsibility for roads, we've got a responsibility for infrastructure, but I also believe we have a responsibility now, since we've asked them for their opinion and they've given it to us. I think we've got that same responsibility to start fulfilling some of that so they can see and enjoy it every day.
And those are quality of life issues. Those are
Absolutely.
life issues.
The underground utilities, we talked about downtown. Where are we with that?
I mean, I don't know how long it's been, since the last time the council had a conversation about that. It just strikes me, we had such battles in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. These utilities historically hate undergrounding. They'll hire lawyers, they'll do everything possible
Don't say
because
that
they
out loud.
hate to do undergrounding of utilities. So I come to South Carolina and am absolutely shocked that you have a company that not only supports it, but has created a program. I mean, that could be unique nationally, because as I said, I know a lot of utilities and they hate underground. And so you have one that's different. So we have this opportunity, and so the opportunity is for every dollar that the city invests, they'll match it. So.
There's a cap, I believe, but
There is a cap, but there's consequences of inaction. It isn't like the fund will build up, and if you finally decide to do it in 20 years, you gotta tell money, because after the 5th year, the first year drops off, and so you can't keep letting it, and I wanted to have, I know Councilor Mary's passionate about this, I've talked to him about it, but it just seems to me that one of the most iconic things about this city that I've learned is South Boundary. And it just seems like we're not doing what we could do, and one day we'll wake up, a lot of those trees will be gone, and people will start why didn't you do anything about it? And I don't know, I mean, I don't know if, as I said, I don't know if the council has had that conversation, but
I really think we need.
I think the last time we had any real conversation about it was while Richard was with us, and then we've been a little distracted since then. But it is something that I'd definitely like us to revisit.
John, when I hear you speak, it just makes me think that we've got a mountain of things to do. Where are all the hands and the heads and bodies to do it? And I think we would welcome some volunteers. Do you have a building that we can put volunteers
Well, you have some
into?
great possibility, you have some terrific people in this.
I know, and how do we tap into the resources that want to do the legwork to pursue some of these ideas? And it's amazing what we might get if we have a call for volunteers in these specific areas and see what we get.
It'd be cool to have a grant writing task force, some of these retired CEOs and stuff.
Absolutely.
Wow.
See, the first battle
That's
is
not
is
impossible.
Right.
willingness.
Put it out.
Right, call for
Right.
volunteers.
The first battle is willingness, and that is you have to have a council that's willing. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to come here, because I believe that I was talking to a council that had reached a point where they know that there's possibilities out there. And then when you get past that, then there's the capacity issue. Now you have 1,001 projects to work on, and you don't have the capacity to do it. So we need to address that as well. But this is an exciting time, and we can move the can down the road. We can get things done.
Well, you're known as the chosen one, if you like that label.
Yeah, yes.
Has the final list on Eustis Park Senior Center and Northside been finalized yet?
The list of what?
Like what you want to have in it? Like the Northside Park Phase 1, what is it going to be?
We thought,
Phase one.
Phase
One.
one, right, we
Phase
talked
one
about
for the
phase
Northside
one.
Park is the
Right,
is a
but we
small
didn't get it
playground,
before. Okay.
amphitheater.
The walking trail.
And the walking
Walking
trail?
trail.
Okay, okay.
Got the picnic
And
shelters.
Eustis Park, which one, A, B, or C?
That remains to
We
be
don't know.
a conversation
We
I've
don't know.
got.
Tuesday there's a meeting with the.
Okay.
Got to talk to the council on
All
aging.
right.
I want to raise an issue, probably won't, may or may not get a lot of support, but I'll outline my basis, and that is I don't support continuing of the staff character education program as it's currently structured. And the reason for that is I just look at the man hours. We've got people from every department that come in. We talk about character, we talk about an issue that can be discussed in the workplace by management at the workplace, rather than bringing everybody down. If you take the total of people that show up at that and multiply times the number of man hours and cost it out, it's a lot of money. And I would support returning that to the work center where it belongs, instead of having everybody come to the municipal center and pay somebody hundreds of dollars a month to go through that exercise. I think probably among the staff I'd be a hero for proposing this, because I'm not sure it's that popular. I know when Richard took over, it was beating the bushes to get folks there, because I attended some of them when Roger was here, and some were not well attended, and some were attended by people that really you wouldn't expect to have to go to a character education. I mean, I don't expect directors to need to go to a character education program. So I would suggest that we revamp that program. It's in here for $5,000 in a general fund, which is really not what we've been paying. Yeah, it is. It's about, yeah, that is what we've been paying. And that doesn't include the man hours. So I don't know how the rest of the council
There's hidden
feels.
costs that, yeah,
Yeah,
you're
I don't
right.
know how the rest of the council feels, but,
Well,
you know,
you've
I-
never mentioned it to me, but I think you got a good point there.
Well, I would suggest that we continue the program, but not implement it in the manner in which it's.
Yeah,
But I was
Yeah.
struck by the fact that I don't think
You agree with that, Mayor?
employees have been
Yeah.
asked what they like or dislike about it and how we might want to improve it. And my vision is to build upon the leadership of Mayor Fred by improving it. Not eliminating it, but improving it. And I've had an opportunity to talk to employees, and it's really surprising, because they have some thoughts about speakers and about different formats. It might not be in one collection, it might be in different buildings or whatever. I know HR, both our retiring HR director and our new HR director have feelings about this, but so do our managers as well. And so we think that that Mayor Fred and all of you have created something special, and we want to improve on that. And I think you're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Can we hear
it's-
from staff? Can we get some input from staff before we decide that we?
We're not eliminating it,
discontinue?
we're
Yeah, we're not
moving it.
gonna
Right. I mean, I'd like to hear what they have
I
to
think
say,
we
and
can-
any suggestions they have for improvement.
I think we
would
can
be
honor
welcome.
the intention of it, but yet it does, I mean, it will evolve and.
We still support the
Yeah.
character education
Yeah,
in
yeah, I
schools.
agree.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
You know,
The
and-
schools are big with it, all of the
Schools
character
love it.
traits, we will still
I think the man.
do some of that, but,
Yes.
yeah, we're not eliminating that, but it's just, I think Dick is just addressing the man hour it takes
Yeah.
employees to come down here
Yeah.
and
I
the
think
time
that's-
away from their responsibilities.
I think that's a reasonable.
See, I'm not as familiar with that part.
And the other thing that I'm at odds, and I really am at odds, having been president of Friends of the Aiken County Public Library for umpteen years, we have typically given $12,000 a year to the library. And I'm not, I guess leave it up to council in terms of whether or not we should continue to do that. That started many, many years ago, when the site, as I understand, it's gone up to 12,000. I think it was 10 when I took over the Friends of the Library. But that started when the demands to the library were so extreme because of the education of the people that were moving in. And it was a small library, and it's a county library. And this is money to help them buy books for the city residents that use it. So I don't know whether that's something we should consider continuing or not. Depends on how tight the budget is, but I just wanted to raise it.
Dick, what does the county put in?
I have no idea. I really don't. It's, I mean, they put the bulk of the money in
Yeah,
for
okay.
the operation of the library, I would say that.
It's for the counties.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4 counties.
Yeah,
Right.
well, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Mary Jo Dawson is the director of the 4-county library system.
Right.
So she has to work with each of the counties. So
And
I don't
in
know.
some of her systems, there's new libraries that's been built, but it's through working with the council of government that they've managed to get some funds down. I think
New
you'll find.
Ellington has a new one. I
Yeah.
think North Augusta has been upgraded.
That has been.
Um,
And
Boy,
I just saw that
Lexington
with them.
Library is unbelievable.
Yes,
Lexington
yeah.
Library, yeah, I mean,
That's a big
that's
thing.
blows you away.
Huge.
And Columbia.
But in South
Yeah.
Carolina, the library is a county function, but,
Well, what I'm finding too with the other libraries, there's a host of many more programs than what we have at our library. It's just, we're limited to the offerings
well,
here,
they've
besides the
expanded
book,
digital. They're
reading.
doing a lot of improvements in digital library. In fact, I just listened to a series of books from other libraries out of state that are available, you know, again, with Apple and the apps or whatever it is. The technology is really improving.
Well, you know,
But there are still people that like books.
I had thought with internet and
E-books.
Amazon and ebooks and all that kind of stuff, I'd kind of thought libraries were fading until I went up to Lexington County Library and went in there and realized, especially for school kids, it's a hot place to. I mean,
It is.
They don't go for their entertainment; they go in for actual
Programs.
stuff to do, program stuff to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's very very active.
Those computers at the library are in
Yeah.
constant use.
I actually, because I was working out of this updated version of the budget, and not the one that I'd marked up, I'd almost forgotten to ask an engineering sort of related question. Can I ask you real quickly? It's probably a yes or no answer, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, if you remember, there was the questions presented to us about things that maybe we would want to be willing to cut or not cut from the budget.
Yes.
And one of the things that had come up as a possible item was some of the maintenance on the dirt roads in the horse district. And that was in these notes, but I didn't have it in my new version. Is that fully funded
It is
in this
not fully funded.
budget?
We obviously need to do it.
Yeah.
I was hoping that we could use money within the roads program, but we don't know if it's going to be.
It didn't help much, because I was number 33.
You'll know if there's a roads program if Monday if the fees pass. Okay.
If there isn't, it isn't as though we don't understand the importance of that.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
well, bring
a,
that to us, because that's got to be funded. I
yeah,
don't care how.
that's a critically important thing. Even if motor coaches don't drive on those roads, it's a critically important thing.
I agree.
All right.
Thank you. Thank council for being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank the staff. We
you.
appreciate it.
2.3 is there.